Welcome, everyone, to episode 21 of the Player to Player podcast. I'm Luke, and today I'm joined by a couple returning guests. We have Hagen and Brandon.
Hello.
How you guys doing? Thanks
Great,
for coming back. Excited to talk some Star Wars.
Yeah, definitely.
Always a good time when you're talking Star Wars, right? We just have a few quick news things, and we'll go over these pretty quick, and then we'll jump into our main topic. First, we're getting a Marvel and Disney showcase for games. We're getting a video game showcase.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is from IGN. First ever Disney and Marvel game showcase will debut next month, featuring brand new video game announcements from the likes of Star Wars, Pixar, Marvel, and more. Marvel games, Lucasfilm, 20th Century Games will all be present to some degree during the showcase, bringing reveals, announcements, and trailers for new and upcoming games. Reveals. I'm so excited for that because we already have a bunch of stuff that we know, but I didn't even catch that till reading it now. We're getting new stuff. So Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, September 9th is when, and it'll be at D23.
Very excited.
What is 20th Century Games? I should probably know.
I would assume Fox.
Okay.
So I would assume anything that they had the rights to
So,
at the time,
X-Men.
so X-Men. Man.
With Wolverine.
An X-Men game.
Yeah.
Wolverine.
I would love. Do you
Great.
remember X-Men Legends? Yeah.
Legends 1 and 2.
Those games were so much
Oh.
fun. Those games were so much fun.
So incredible.
It was like that
Love
style of video game was
Yeah.
very popular.
It was
for
that
a
like
while.
half top, like that
right,
angled
kind of
top
top
down,
down, but
yeah.
like in every and
But it was
and-
combat.
right.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
like okay, click this
and
guy.
then there
move
was
him
a
over here.
Ultimate Alliance.
Ultimate
was
Alliance.
like that
Yeah,
too.
I mean it's still going on, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. I guess they just made a new one, but
Right.
I played the older ones like
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
There was even a DC one that was super fun. I
played
forget
that
what it was called, but it was the same kind of style where it was like kind of top down, and it was a Justice League game. Yeah. So very excited for that. I will definitely be watching that announcement. Kirk and I might even watch that live
for your Patreon. Come on.
Yeah. And then Take-Two Private Division is making a Lord of the Rings game. So Take-Two is a publisher, and then they have a bunch of other smaller publishers. And Private Division specifically has published Outer Worlds, Hades, Ollie Ollie World, and Roller Dome.
Yeah.
Is coming soon. Have you seen anything from Roller Dome?
Mm-mm.
It's a third-person shooter on roller skates.
Like roller derby with guns.
Yeah,
kinda deal.
exactly.
Yeah.
It looks
But
like
the art style. The art style
fun.
is very. It's interesting. It's similar to Ollie Ollie World where it feels kind of it's 3D, but it doesn't look like it if you're just seeing like screen grabs of it. So it's I think it's gonna be cool.
I've never heard roller derby and cool being in the same sentence, so this will be interesting.
You know, well,
You've never heard of roller derby with guns.
I sure have not.
Wait. That brings us to our third topic, right?
Next news.
Yeah. So our next piece of news is an Unreal Engine 5 game. So when you expect Unreal Engine 5, I don't think you expect this, but this is called Squirrel with a Gun.
Oh boy.
And we'll pull up this
Anything
little
with a
clip.
gun, yeah.
It is exactly what.
So it's a little squirrel,
Look at the guy's like,
Look at him.
I want to take a picture of the squirrel.
and then
I'm just gonna grab this 45 caliber
handgun
handgun.
and robs the guy.
Look at the guy fall over and watches.
Yeah. and then steals the phone.
Oh, the
This
phone
looks amazing.
animation is just so. He's just.
I'm so excited to play this.
I love this.
I
mean, you said this is made by a single person, right?
I think so. I mean, it's a small indie developer.
So maybe like a small team at
It
best,
might be a
but-
small team, but yeah,
Right.
like
I mean,
like, it's
impressive
just a few
for
people.
when you said Unreal 5. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is gonna be like it's gonna look like a squirrel,
Yeah,
but it looks
No,
like
no,
a
no, no, no.
it looks like a this looks like a Skate 2 squirrel.
Right.
Like,
PS3.
Exactly. Which I mean, to be fair,
still good.
I almost prefer that.
Yeah,
Like,
'cause
I
it's-
don't necessarily
it's funnier.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Look
like
at
I don't.
him
It's like
waddle
Goat
with the
Simulator.
gun.
I don't want Goat Simulator to look perfect.
That's
like
true.
it needs to kind
Goat-
of look
not
bad.
what I
yeah,
paid for.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It
Oh
doesn't.
my
Yeah, it doesn't
goodness.
need to look good.
I'm
to
so
be-
Is this
excited.
gonna be like? Is this gonna be M-rated? Is this gonna be like bloody? Do you think and just
It's gotta be.
horrible?
It's
I hope
gotta
I'm
be.
so
so.
curious. I made a joke earlier, like, is
like,
this
I feel
Conker's
like-
Bad Fur Day
I feel like
too?
it's either gonna be M or it's gonna. I mean,
Or
it
it's
couldn't
gonna
be
be-
it couldn't be E. You know, but like, or it's just gonna be super
Oh
like
my
you know.
goodness.
So good.
Yeah, it looks great. And then our last piece of news, Hogwarts Legacy got delayed again. But we have a release date. So it's not just a delay out in the,
Well, this is the first time I think they actually gave us a release date at all.
Yeah, originally it was Windows. It was spring 2023, 22, then holiday 22, and now February 10th will be the release date for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, and Nintendo Switch will be the date for that will be revealed soon. So,
open world-y kind of.
Yep. Yeah. Open world RPG. So you can choose your house, and each playthrough will be a little different for each house because that determines who your companions are. And I'm very excited for the game. I'm a new Harry Potter fan. I just saw all the movies this year for the first time.
Wow.
So yeah, my wife's a big Harry Potter fan.
Yeah.
So
I mean, growing up, I wasn't. And truthfully, my mom even today will be like,
yeah.
But that was, just growing up in the world that I did. It was not, and I think in high school, my friends were watching it, like, and I just fell in love. I just fell in love with it and realized how, like, innocent it actually is. Come to find out. I was like, okay, this is great. So, yeah, this has been, I mean, I dressed up as Dumbledore for Halloween this year, so it's like, I'm very much looking forward to this game. Same. And, anytime a developer pushes games out, it makes me nervous, but more than anything, it's there's some confidence in going, okay, they're making sure that it's
right. Good. Yeah, they're pushing it out because they know that it's not ready for release.
Specifically, their statement says we need a little bit more time to deliver the best possible.
Honestly, so, I think this is just I think this comes from people wanting release dates too soon. It's like, you find out a game's in development. And then, like the Lord of the Rings game that Take-Two is doing. It's like, we're not going to know anything about that game for at least a year or two. Yeah. And we're not even going to see it for probably 5. But now that we know it's being made, people are going to start bugging them for a release date. And it's like, calm down. Like let them just put the game out when it's done. I mean, this never happens with movies. Like, now, granted, movies, like, very different process. I'm aware of that. But they tell us they're making the movie, and they tell us like the year that it's coming out or whatever, and then that's basically it. And then as we get like within 6 months from it, and then release dates show. It was other than Marvel, but Marvel is kind of a well-oiled machine at this point, So it's like the gaming community just needs to like chill out a little bit and like just wait for the games to come out,
And compared to movies, I feel like when a game gets delayed, usually that's for the better. Movie gets delayed, it's because some drama happened. Somebody got arrested. That kind of stuff. Or the effects aren't done. With games, it's like, no, it's always worth it.
Yeah, it's true.
So, except in the case of Cyberpunk.
But
I mean, I guess that's probably
apparently it got better. I haven't touched it since its release.
No, I've heard it's better, but I guess if they would have released it originally, it probably would have been even worse. So
so at least it was.
So I guess
at least it was mostly playable.
Is that the one with Keanu?
Yeah. But okay, so last thing with this game though, on the topic of pushing out release dates and people's angst to get them, I think this one is particularly angsty because this has actually been in early development for years and years. I don't know how long, but I remember. I mean, if you go back and see like early development Hogwarts Legacy, before it was even titled or probably even a story developed, there are clips of what we now see as a very, very much better developed game. But there are clips of the same types of animations that they were trying to do.
Really?
Probably in like PS3 days, like Xbox 360 days. So it was very hush hush. Like they had playtesters come in, and that's how it got kind of exposed. The playtesters started talking about it.
Yeah.
And somebody recorded it on the TV that that's how it got out. According to what's read, but
I mean, this game looks awesome. There's gonna be tons of spells in the game. There's gonna be potions and potion making and
a great time. This game would not be good on the Xbox 360 PS3 era. It just wouldn't have been as good, in my opinion. I think now it'll be so much better. Developers have gotten better. Tools have gotten better.
You think on the Switch it'll have Joy-Con support? So you can actually like.
I am sure, knowing Nintendo,
$50 attachment.
Yeah, knowing Nnintendo, it will, but it will be less enjoyable. Like Call of Duty. Remember when Call of Duty came out on the Wii, and you're like, I had a friend of mine who swore by playing Call of Duty on Switch or on
the same
the
way.
Wii,
like,
and I was like,
loved it on the Wii, and like, you're insane.
And they didn't even have the attachment either.
Exactly.
They were like doing this,
just
like
holding it loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they figured out that they could just like sit there and go like this, it was like just hold the controller.
Yeah. Like
I'm a controller purist. Like, give me this. I don't even like keyboards, to be honest with you. So I apologize.
I'm a keyboard and mouse guy.
But I know a lot of people who were diehard until they used it.
Once you get used to the keyboard, it's just you have so many more buttons. Like you can map everything in the game to a button. Like and so you have your 2 clicks on your mouse, right? You have left and right click, but then you have buttons on your mouse, and then you have all your other keys. You have all your number keys. You have your scroll wheel. You can click your scroll wheel. You can set it to scroll down to do something and scroll up to do something else. Like once you get dialed in, keyboard and mouse is the way to play. In my opinion,
I believe that's true.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, but I don't. Yeah.
I mean, I will say that,
and I won't respond to it.
Kind of depend on the game. Like, so I'm gonna Spider-Man PS4 is now on PC, and I'm like, so I'm gonna play it now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play that on keyboard and mouse. Like, I don't even begin to.
That game. That wouldn't be enjoyable. The enjoyment is being able to swing, and it feels so fun.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing that
I've done like grappling hook stuff on keyboard and mouse, and that even feels like kind of awkward, So there are some things that I would prefer a controller for, but overall, especially when it comes to shooters, keyboard and mouse is my preferred.
Just always think of the South Park
guy. So that brings us into our main topic. So this is our top 10 favorite Star Wars games. Not best ever. No criticizing our list. This is our opinions. So
I mean, you can criticize it all you want, but it's not going to do me.
It's okay. You can't see a thumb down anymore on YouTube. So
I noticed that.
My feelings won't get hurt.
We can see it. But no one else can. We'll do it just like we've done lists on the podcast before. I'll say mine, and if it's higher on either yours, just say it's higher, and then we'll talk about it once it's whoever. Once we get to the highest point on someone's list. So, kicking off my number 10 is Rogue Squadron on the 64. Have either of you played it?
I did play it a little bit. Not much, but I remember the Hoth battle. I remember that, and that was like so fun.
It was so fun. It was super cool. You get to fly the snow speeder.
Yeah, do the whole towing thing where
exactly.
Tie up the AT-AT.
It's back when cheat codes were fun in video games, and they didn't do things like just like ruin the game. It was like you got to unlock cool ships and stuff. And before like
Giant head.
you had to pay for that stuff, and it was all microtransactions. Now it's like you can fly a car in Rogue Squadron, or you can unlock the Millennium Falcon.
And all you had to know is how to click to the right order.
So bad. So like in Rogue Squadron, you pick your ship and then you go fly the level. And you would I remember you would like just use the thumbstick to go to the next ship, and it would like pan, and then it gets the Millennium Falcon's in the corner, and it would pan very quickly over the Millennium Falcon. And I remember like trying to get it to stop on the Millennium Falcon. It was like there's gotta be a way to
there's
unlock
a way,
it, and then there's a code, and then when you pan over, it zooms into the Millennium Falcon. And it's so cool.
Was I the only one who
missed that era?
Would like find a Game Genie like magazine in the store and just like. Toys R Us, it's Super One, whatever.
Well, I remember when they started sealing those in plastic too, because we started doing that because we were like,
this is the car.
That was so fun.
Oh, come on,
that's the one you fly in Rogue Squadron.
It looks like that.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, look at it.
So
it's over there behind the Millennium Falcon.
I loved that era of game.
The B-Wing is what it was called.
Boy. I loved that being able to unlock. So like I said, I just mentioned like the giant head. Like almost every game had a giant head cheat code. And it's so fun. That's great.
So that's my number 10.
Oh, number 10.
What do we have?
So I have Battle for Naboo, which similar. It has more going on than just fighting. But similar, you're fighting that in the Starfighter, and it's the Battle for Naboo. I really think that I think probably like my lowest 4 games on my list are pure nostalgia.
Yeah,
like
totally.
if I played it today, I'd probably say this
hilarious.
is utter crap.
I completely the bottom 4 are the exact same.
Yes.
Like, yeah,
they're
all nostalgia driven.
Only nostalgia. Like I don't know why, because I've played some of these now, and I'm like, this is garbage. Comparably, then it was great, but
that's
now
we need remakes, though, right? Like we need remakes.
KOTOR
like
remake.
Give me these games with good controls. Like that's what.
Yeah,
that's what
update.
I want,
yeah, exactly.
Because they were limited by what.
But
like for most of these games, at least for like Rogue Squadron, it's the controls that are the issue. Like I can deal with the graphics, like I can deal with the cheesy voice lines, like I don't like that's not part a problem. I can't control the game. Like that's the problem. Like, so
the developers are like, and
so what?
We already have your money.
And that was a big problem back then too. It was like, well, it's too late. We printed the cartridges already.
Oh my god.
We can't fix it. There's no patching it.
There's no patches.
Game breaking issues. I mean, like the infamous Superman game that's like unbeatable.
Yeah.
That's just like they printed it and that was it.
Yep.
And but Battle for Naboo, I only really remember the feeling that I got, the nostalgia of like, oh my gosh, like this was Star Wars. I grew up in the Episode 1 era. Like I watched the original trilogy before anything else, but I was a kid when Episode 1 came out, and I got to admire Anakin as a kid, and I was like, oh my god. So then when I got to play Battle for Naboo, that was my game. Oh my gosh! Like, stick that thing, jam that thing in, and click the switch on, and you're going. It was just like, I just love that game. Yeah, that's mine.
My lowest is going to be Jedi Outcast Jedi Knight 2.
Okay.
Kyle Katarn, just a classic legend.
Yeah, I haven't played this one.
Character. I had it on GameCube for probably 2 months, and then angrily took it back to Trade a Game to sell it because it was so
I miss Trade
hard, but it's so special. And I was telling you guys earlier, like I love now for pure nostalgia just to go on YouTube, just watch playthroughs of these games because they're so. If I tried to play it now, I would still throw my controller at when you're on Nar Shaddaa, which is again having these places and these characters that are now becoming canonized. You're on Nar Shaddaa and you're getting sniped. You literally can get shot in the butt by a sniper, and then you just dissolve. Like Kyle just dissolved, and of course it does. You lose. Kyle Katarn has died. Yeah. He has this over dramatic as he's dying, so it's just perfect early 2000s. Awesome. But some really cool stuff.
Like what was the 16-bit sounds that
were
like better, but not
32.
Was it 32 then?
Yeah, because GameCube and GameCube followed. GameCube and PS1 were about this. Well, GameCube and PS2 never mind.
Yeah, I guess there was 32.
So we were closer to 128 because Dreamcast.
Yeah.
I won't go down my Sega route, but what I was going to say is now I watch like Book of Boba Fett and I see Luke kind of building, a Jedi Academy. I think of Jedi Outcast. You see this massive stone structure in terrible graphics and just bunches of little Jedis just, with their lights flying around. And it's just the same character cloned but reskinned over and over. But it's fun to see Luke in his black clothes and like teaching an adult, Jedi and stuff. And it's a pretty good love story. So Jedi Knight 2.
You always have to have a good love story, right? Yeah, I mean, come on.
Anyway.
So my number 9 is Galactic Battlegrounds, which is the reskin of Age of Empires 2. Yeah. So it's an RTS, and I picked this game up on Steam for like $5 a few months ago. I played it a ton as a kid, right? And I put like 100 hours into it since then. Like this game,
like recently.
Yeah, recently. So I mean, as a kid, like hundreds of hours probably.
Sure.
And this game is like dangerous for me to play because like I'm in the studio, right? So there's no light or anything in here, and RTSs, you're just always doing something. Right. There's no downtime. There's no pause screens. There's no. I mean, you can pause it, but you're not. If you're playing the game, you're not. So like I'll sit down and play this, and then 7 hours later, I will be like, oh shoot, like I was supposed to do stuff today, like So like that's kind of how I got to that many hours so quick.
That's funny.
Like 3 a.m. I working 5 hours.
One battalion in 7 hours. Yeah.
Well, I mean, might as well keep playing at this point, yeah.
That's so
man,
funny.
It's so much fun though.
I wish I had known about that game earlier.
Yeah.
Like I loved that style of game, and so I'm like, how did I miss that?
now the online servers are shut down, of course, so you can't play online. But I had a few friends come over, and we had a little LAN party in here, and that was so much fun. We had to like bust the router out in here so we could plug everyone into it.
Yeah. And you were saying it did 4, 5, and 6, and 1 and 2.
Yep.
Because they haven't made
right. So 4, 5, and 6, and then they released an expansion which was 1 and 2.
Okay.
And it's so much fun.
It could be Gungans, just like building your empire.
Yep. You can be Gungan. The factions are Empire, Republic, Trade Federation, Confederacy, Republic, Gungans, and Wookiees. Oddly enough, you can just play as Wookiees.
That's awesome.
Setting up Revenge of the Sith. Very good.
Yeah. Right.
Man. Oh, I gotta play that. That's awesome.
It's a very, very fun game. So that was my number 9.
My number 9 is tied with my number 8. I'll give my number 9 though. It's Shadows of the Empire. Again, another one of those nostalgic. I remember renting it and playing it with my brother and just loving it. It felt spooky at times, but it also felt like really just like fun. You know, you're like you're shooting ATSTs and stuff. You're like, I don't know how you're doing that. Nonetheless, you got your like vest and bandolier thing going on, and oh man, I don't remember any of the story other than just the
Dash Rendar.
There's just like very faint memories of
they needed
certain
this Dolph
things,
Lundgren just big character. And no Jedi powers, but just running around.
And it was just
we were saying earlier it's a Doom reskin.
Yeah, basically.
Look up and down.
Exactly. It's not just this, which I mean, Doom. I can still play the first Doom game and enjoy it. I'm like, that's
totally.
It's aged, but it's still a good game. And so I feel in the same way. Shadows of the Empire. Would I prefer to play that over what I'm playing today? No.
Yeah.
But for a Star Wars game, definitely. Yeah, definitely great.
Mid-90s, such a beautiful time in Star Wars of what's now Legends, but a lot of it becoming canonized.
Yes.
Just great stories of George just being like, okay, guys, you take the reins. Like, I'm tired. I mean, he said during the 90s, 80s and 90s, he took a step back from directing or even being that involved in Star Wars to raise his daughter, and that's great. But he just kind of gave us permission to all these. What a
imagine all the Star Wars movies we could have.
Oh my gosh! Imagine all the other Jar Jars we could have gotten. Jar Jar adjacent characters.
We could have. Maybe not. Not more of them. Maybe not more of them, but at least earlier.
Hagen, we would have gotten an all Gungan movie. Like, stop it.
And I would have loved it. I would have loved it.
Of course I would have.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course I would have. Oh boy. But anyways, Shadows of the Empire spawned not only a game in '96 or whatever, but also a great novel. I think it's one of the greatest Leia stories.
I didn't read it, but I knew about it. Yeah. I'm
has nothing to do with the game. There's no Dash Rendar in the book.
Yeah.
But they have the same name for some reason, and it's kind of set in the same time. So I don't know. I love 90s Star Wars. My next lowest is going to be one that I don't think you guys have heard of, but Masters of Teräs Käsi, which is essentially Star Wars Street Fighter. So that's all you need to know. Where you can be Vader, Han, this cool female character called Arden Lynn. I don't know if she was force sensitive, but she had like a bionic arm. I think Mara Jade is introduced in it.
This looks ridiculous.
Look,
so
you could be Chewbacca.
Hopefully
that is so funny. He's like got his crossbow
but
thing.
Your lightsaber.
Oh, there's a.
Is that?
There's Arden. Yeah,
Arden.
I can't remember if Mara. Favorite Legends character, but there's a Tusken Raider named Hoar. HOAR.
Okay.
So excited, but, it just is, and it's got all the
ridiculous.
Oh, the music is
Leia
awful.
with the double-bladed yellow.
Leia double-bladed yellow
in her slave outfit,
right?
of course.
Had to have it.
I don't know what Luke's doing in this picture.
You could duck, stat, but
both of them are facing away from each other.
You had so little room in the screen. You could kind of move around in kind of a circle like a lot of the fighter games would. But Masters of Teräs Käsi now like an actual canonized.
Right. Yeah. It's like fighting style. Isn't that
99 or whenever that came out? Nobody knew what Teräs Käsi was.
Right.
Like, what is that? Now that's like that's your forms of lightsaber combat. So it's there. It exists. The poster is hilarious.
I need to play this game.
There's a poster for it. You can.
It's Star Wars Street Fighter. Why would I not play that? I never even knew that
I'll
existed.
bring it over
on
PS1.
Let's
I had friends who had it on the PS1 Mini, and then you detach the little screen.
The screen
in the car and just,
that's awesome.
Oh, that's so cool.
Nostalgic.
My number 8 is episode 3.
All right.
So this was one of the man, I'm so glad they don't make video games about movies anymore.
Like Force Awakens.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad because so many of those games were absolute trash, but this one was actually really fun.
Most of them. Yeah, almost all of them.
Yes. Oh yeah, I mean, I remember the Iron Man game. And, it was so bad.
Batman.
Okay, with the exception though of Lord of the Rings, their Two Towers.
I've actually heard those games are good.
The Two Towers game and Return of the King were both exceptional games.
Yeah.
Like I play them today. Like I grab my buddy's old PlayStation and we like play it. Oh, it's so good.
But episode three was it was so much fun. I had a lot of fun with it. It has a cool alternate ending where Anakin kills Obi-Wan and then Sidious with a red lightsaber, you know, and there was a versus mode, which was super fun.
Like that's what I'm not exaggerating. It's his voice actor.
That's almost perfect. Yeah. Like
Obi-Wan, I think is the Obi-Wan from Clone Wars.
Probably.
I think it's the same.
Oh, is it really?
I want to. Maybe I'm mixing it up with something else, but like everybody else is good.
You should look it up.
But I remember in the game, Anakin is just hello.
Just the versus mode is amazing, and Grievous is in it. Obi-Wan's in it. Mace is in it, and they all have like a second version, so it'll change their like old Obi-Wan with a green lightsaber or Grievous with red lightsabers, which is neat. Stuff like that. So
I've seen some of the battle with Mace Windu, and you just keep falling off of it. You just keep
right. Oh my gosh, the Mace and Sidious fight was ridiculous. Like it was like a whole level that you played. Like it wasn't just you fly in the chamber and then you like went down and like
keep
fought
going down,
all around the building. Somehow ended up back in the chamber
made
and like
new elements of the story.
I could be wrong, but this might have
gameplay.
even been one of the games that had like movie footage in it too. You know,
the cutscenes were like the movie clips.
I'm not sure if that's true, but
I don't remember. I remember I played that a little bit. I played that game, but I don't remember
because the cutscenes were in game. So but that's my number 8.
All right, so my number 8 is tied with my number 9, and the reason is I think because they're very similar playstyle wise. Bounty Hunter, which I did just recently start playing a little bit, and it did not age very well. It's hard,
of course.
And most of these older games are very challenging. But yeah, I mean, you're Jango Fett, and I believe that it was. I believe the voice was Tamora. Yeah. Like I said, I just recently played it, but I can't remember if it was actually him. But it is voice acted. It's fun. You have a jetpack, like you can fly up onto buildings, and it's That's so awesome. It's so fun. Just a good time game. Again, like the camera movements are terrible, and you're trying to look up to something, and you can't get the camera to move. You're like, I need to see what's up there, and you can't. So, harder to play now, but it's certainly one of my favorites.
I feel like it's not the most famous Star Wars game, but it's pretty well known. I think it's one of those that cemented Jango as like, this is a badass.
It was a PS2 exclusive, wasn't it?
Oh no, they had GameCube.
It was
PS2 and GameCube, but it wasn't on Xbox.
Maybe not. I don't remember. I was a PlayStation guy, so I
thought it came out right around.
We're both Sony boys.
Yeah, so I guess maybe I don't know, but I know I never played it.
It kind of like to have a Star Wars game devoted to one person. Don't know if that had happened up until then or since.
Yeah, not really.
So I think that's helped the Fets.
Yeah,
kind of little things like that really helps.
Cool. Next on
your list. Next one for me is just classic Lego. Complete
higher.
Way higher.
I know.
Higher.
I should.
That's just insultingly low.
I mean, I've played all 6 episodes of it and liked it.
Yeah. No, we'll talk about it later. That's
that's
so low.
So you're talking about the first saga.
I'm talking early 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean that would still be higher. I did not list. I'll say I did list the Lego as a separate, almost like a separate category. I didn't list them in this list because I feel like personally, I feel like all of those games, like the newest one is easily in my top 15 to 20 of all time.
Wow.
Yeah. The new one. I mean, it's just so so great. I mean, my daughter just today, like she daily is like, "Can I play Star Wars?" Like,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yes,
I
let's
love
go.
the Lego
Absolutely, you absolutely
Yeah.
can.
Yes.
Like,
I know she's doing it just to get more screen
Right,
time, but
right.
I'm like, I don't care. Let's go for
No,
it.
you're allowed to do screen time when it's Star Wars.
Exactly.
You know? Like,
Yes. No,
You've got an hour for anything else.
and then
5
unlimited
hours
time
for Star Wars. Yeah,
you know,
exactly. It doesn't
like-
matter. You just if you want to watch
I'll
Star Wars,
brush your teeth while
and
you're
she
playing.
knows.
Exactly.
She
And then go to
knows
bed.
because she will. I mean, this is just a funny, cute little story of hers. Like she will now that she knows how much I love Star Wars, and she does really love Star Wars, but she knows how much I love it, and so we watch movies together and play the game, and we'll be like getting her ready for bed. And she's like, "Can we watch a movie?" And we're like, "No, probably not tonight. Can we watch Star Wars?" I'm like, yes, but only for 5 minutes. And it's like halfway through the movie, I'm like eating popcorn, she's like passed out. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, she's asleep. I get that only happened once, but it's seriously, she does actually like
That's awesome.
All of the
try to
Lego-
convince me.
Lego
yeah.
Complete Star Wars and Force Awakens fun for me. Same thing. Where it's just
Yeah.
like these are games that you can put in front of a child,
Yeah.
or a
Mhm.
teenager,
And she can
just
play them,
and
yeah.
do multiplayer. 'Cause
Yeah.
there aren't enough good
Yeah, you can kind of go and do
easy
your thing and
multiplayer.
actually play the game while they're
Yes.
like dinking
Yes.
around, like, how do
And
I
they're
move my
just
guy?
So
Yeah.
funny. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
I like those because there was no dialogue in the old.
Like
You
it
know,
would, yeah.
you know, it's
They
just-
did add
oh,
dialogue in the new
so-
one though.
Yeah,
I'll
totally.
talk about it later
Totally.
because it's
Yeah,
up
yeah,
there.
it's
Yeah.
fine.
Number 7 on my list is the Obi-Wan game. Don't go play it. Like it does not. Your lightsaber is your right thumbstick.
That's terrible.
Like we're gonna
I
give
can't
you two
believe
thumbsticks,
that.
and then one
Trying
of them
to-
doesn't control your
I-
camera.
I-
Imagine
Like
that.
yeah, like if you do this,
And
you
walking
slash
with
sideways. If
this.
you go up, you slash like this. If you spin it, you'll
You know,
spin.
akin to-
Like,
You'd be
it's-
better off if the whole.
So
like,
who
motion
developed that
yeah.
game?
Do
you know?
I don't know.
I want to say EA.
Because
Was it
EA
early
also
EA
implemented in
Star
Skate
Wars?
in the Skate series, which I love. I mean, the only reason I still like EA is because of Skate. And the Skate game did that where the right thumbstick, and it was revolutionary then and very challenging at first because you're used to playing Tony Hawk where you like you push with a button and you know and then you jump with a button and everything is with a button
It
plus
just says
another button.
LucasArts.
But
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, no, it was just LucasArts.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
but nonetheless, yeah, Skate implemented that, and it was very challenging because you couldn't move your
Right.
camera.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was like, I can't imagine a Jedi game where
Right.
you can't move the camera. That's insane. 'Cause
Exactly.
Skate, it was like, well, I can at
and
least
then
set up.
and then there's
line
versus
and all
mode,
that.
and in versus mode, you're in like a 3D arena. So your opponent will jump behind you, and you just can't see.
Mm.
Like you can't like follow him over or anything like that. You know, you just like have to find him again. So
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And I think I asked you earlier. Obviously, Ewan McGregor did not supply the voice for
No.
this video. game.
there's no way.
So I'm just imagining just
Absolutely
a
not.
bad British,
yeah,
Scottish, English
Yeah.
accent. doing it.
Yeah, or yeah, worse something that's not his
Yeah.
accent. Yeah, just like trying but can't, like it's Australian or something.
As a,
I don't
as
know.
a lifelong Microsoft hater, I just always remember going to the store, seeing an ad for Obi-Wan.
And the-
he's a green lightsaber. which
yeah.
I love green lightsabers. My favorite.
But it's not.
But it's not Obi-Wan. It's like, no, we're Xbox. Screw you. Like,
Yeah,
he's
well,
gonna have a
Xbox,
green
like,
Xbox.
you can
Just
buy
like-
you can buy that and your 6-pack of Mountain
and
Dew,
your
like
Mountain Dew or your Monster Energy.
And you know,
It's
if I
just-
was an
oh.
Xbox kid, I wouldn't have cared, and I would have been like, yeah, it's Xbox,
Sure.
it has to be green, so yeah, of
Sure.
course I'm gonna do that, and
Ugh.
like
It's
the whole
just
thing. That's so funny. Do you
so
have
weird.
some clips of it? Here we go.
Oh my goodness.
yeah. So
We-
you can
we
see
gotta
like
show
they're
this
not
for the
they're not
viewers.
Right, the camera just moves
they can't
with
look
his
around.
What is
head.
this?
Yeah,
This is just
What is this, Dash Rendar?
Look at that. The,
Oh wow.
the
that's a
roll
somersault.
too. See,
Oh,
I
He-
think
he's
that,
not he can't hit
Yeah.
anything. Like
What in the dude?
and
That's
what
so
are
funny.
these what are these bad guys like?
I don't.
Man.
Gungans?
They're like in armor.
They're
like,
droids, but
or-
or something.
yeah.
Yeah, either armored or
Yeah, see,
droids.
like he can't hit the thing, like because it
That's
just
so
controls
funny.
so poorly. But man,
Yeah,
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 it
when
was
you can't look up and down too, that's
Yeah.
tragic.
it was it was a fun game though.
Early 2000s.
At the time it was. But
Amazing.
so that's my number 7.
Wow. Number 7 for me is Jedi Starfighter.
Okay, that's another one I haven't played.
Yeah, I got it on the PS2.
Yes,
So it was it was a little later. At the time graphics were amazing. You know,
Mhm.
looking back I'm like, "Oh, that's bad." But for the time, it was cutting edge. It
Yeah.
was just wild to to be able to fly the starfighters, and I don't think that we had any flying Star Wars game that compared to this until this point. I think Rogue Squadrons was probably the last one that came out that was like playable.
Yeah.
So it was enjoyable. It felt like Star Fox a lot. Like it felt like that.
Okay.
Where did
they have a good versus mode?
You know what? Honestly, I don't remember if they had a multiplayer at all. I know that my brother and I played the single player mission. Like, I mean, I'm fairly certain that we had to buy another copy because we literally like burnt out.
Nice.
That's awesome. Because it was just we played it that much.
That's great.
Yeah, it was just like I don't know if that's even possible, but I do remember having to get a second copy for some reason. Probably because he scratched it up and PlayStation wouldn't read it anymore. The infamous sound of just going into the ether of nothingness, going into the abyss.
I remember like putting the disc in and then just not. It wouldn't load. And then take it out. I'd like wipe it off. And put it back in.
Yeah.
And then my buddy said that if you wash it with dish soap, it helps.
Oh no, that can't be true.
But sometimes it worked. So like you just
like
take a little bit of dish soap and then you just rinse it off, take a paper towel, wipe it down, and sometimes the game would work afterwards. So
it's
well, they always said blow in the control in the
right, and
that was the worst thing you could do.
Right? But sometimes it works.
But like, sometimes,
well, if there was dust,
it was unrelated,
but
it's just like the
just hope.
It's so funny.
Hang on to hope.
My thing was you'd have to hold that power button. You have to hold the power button, and then it dink, hold it again, dink, and then it would like do the whole reboot process, or if you were really trying the hard reboot with the flip with the back switch. Yeah.
The worst on Xbox was when your disc tray got stuck, and you're like, "Is this the only game I can?"
That happened on PS2 as well. Did it? Yeah, the original at least. Well, and it happened so bad.
Red Light of Death. Red Ring of Death
in Xbox. Yeah.
Well,
the PS3
360. But the original Xbox, I had issues with it with the tray sometimes. Well, because I had little siblings, and they never took care of it or anything.
So similarly on the fat PS3, the original PS3 that's is tall, and that oh my gosh, that was when people were literally killing. Like there was a murder to try to get a PS3. Like that was a big deal. We got it for that Christmas, the Christmas it came out. My parents somehow like saw it in a store.
Congratulations!
You know,
you wanted a PS3 so bad that you will spend the rest of your life in prison
without
a PS3.
Without a PS3, exactly. It happened. It's tragic, and I'm not laughing at the circumstance. It's just the audacity of a person to think I need this so badly. But there was such a hype behind a console that, in hindsight, had a lot of problems.
Oh yeah. Well, and disk drives not working was actually like super common in basically every console. Like I'll watch videos of guys like fixing them, and it's literally as simple as just like there's a rubber band that is on the gears.
Yeah,
that
just gears.
Right, exactly.
That popped
and then it just fell off, and that's it. And it's as easy as just putting it back on.
Amazing.
But it's like you can probably still go find. I watched one guy, he bought a broken Xbox 360 on eBay, and then he opened it up and he was like, oh, it's the disk drive, and then everything else about the thing worked.
That's crazy.
Like, and he got it for like $10 or something like that.
But like to that point, like the PS3, ours got stuck. I think we were under warranty, so we got it. Got them to send a new one and all that. So that was fine. But ours got stuck. And I remember the PS3 Slim had instead of having the mechanical disk drive thing, you had, because that one you just stuck the disc in and then it would suck it up. Right. It would be like, and the little like rollers or whatever that takes it stopped working or whatever. And that was fairly common. Right. But then like PlayStation made that new shell, one, like the cheapest plastic you've ever felt. But then like two, it was a spring loaded tray that physically you could open anytime you needed to. And then you just stuck it right in the center. And I'm like, okay, well, you definitely cheaped out on the product here. Yeah. But for the better, because now this thing will never break, even if it breaks, because I can always just jam it out and like push it, So that was, I definitely had that problem. That was so unfortunate.
So Jedi Starfighter.
So great.
Next for me, it should be much lower. I don't know why I have this high. Force Unleashed 2. The first and last game I've ever...
Two?
Is, yes. Like, you're saying it shouldn't be in my top?
No, it's...
Is it that bad? I haven't played either Force Unleashed games.
Story-wise,
I know.
Shame.
Please go play at least the first one. I mean, play both of them just to have played them. And the first one was, we were actually talking on the way here. It was it was on the level of like the Arkham series.
Wow.
Of like potential.
Sure.
It was like game changing. I mean, if you had Obi-Wan, like the right stick lightsaber, it was like that, but perfected in our opinion. You know, because you could. I remember you could level. I'm talking for you. I apologize. I just loved this game.
No.
It's. I can say the first one's higher, so that's that. But the second one. The main thing was the story.
The second one took everything that was good about the first one and just overpowered
it.
Just give him 2 lightsabers, which any Star Wars fan knows is now obviously this character Starkiller, which was Luke's original name, what they threw away using on Starkiller Base or whatever. A great character, and Sam Witwer, who provides the voice, the actual face of this guy, who has now gone on to voice Sidious, Maul, of course, and do a ton of Star Wars stuff. They just overpowered it. So any Star Wars fan knows 2 lightsabers is pretty sick. And by the second one, they're trying to take him from Vader's secret apprentice to like he's his own man. He may be a clone, he may not be. Can clones have the Force? That's a cool throwback to the Thrawn trilogy. Now they're we're debating on, is this new Palpatine that we have in 9, is he a clone or whatever? So there's always that. But you're taking your 2 lightsabers and you're throwing them and 500 yards in front of you and blowing up an entire building. Or in the first one, fair enough, he pulls down a
Star Destroyer. Which is so cool.
Oh, okay, it's cool. It's a lot, but the second one is like you're just overpowered, and there's no challenge. You can put it on one of the hardest modes, and it still is just over the top. The graphics, they're better.
There's that tipping point. I feel like in a lot of games, especially like leveling games, where you unlock abilities. Like I remember the first one very vividly. You unlock these things over time, you get more and more power. But there's that tipping point in almost every game that you level progress, where all of a sudden I've very rarely seen this work really well, where all of a sudden you are just too powerful and everything is
it's a very fine line.
Especially in like a space mystical power thing like Star Wars.
You
push that too
far.
But
I've also seen it the opposite way, and this I think happens maybe even more commonly, where your level progressions almost mean nothing because it gets so much harder that it's like, well, now I'm not getting to enjoy my new abilities because it's just still too hard. And there's a game in my list that I actually have that to comment on. I was like, but the story of Force Unleashed 2 was just
stinks.
You get
in the good ending, I think it is. You get Leia with a yellow lightsaber, so that's kind of fun. But just over the top and repeated combo attacks on a certain droid. It was like, oh no, I can just do the same on an ATSD. Like I can do the exact same combo. Press X and square, and I'm done. Not
especially because it had, like I said, the first one had so much potential. You're like, this could go somewhere big.
Yes. But to be fair, two of the last Star Wars properties before the Disney. So kind of interesting.
Sure.
Curious if they'll bring it back.
My number 6 is the first Battlefront, 2004.
Okay.
Higher. Okay. All right. So your number 6.
So I've got the pod racing games for both. They're the same game, but they were different for N64 and Game Boy Color.
Oh, okay.
The N64 was playable and enjoyable and fun, and I loved it and played. Me and my kid friend from when I was like 7 years old or whenever it was, like that was all we did when we hung out with each other. It was like, you got it, boom, and just go. So it was just so fun. And again, another one of those that I've played recently, like this year, and I've gone, ugh, how did I play this before?
I did the same thing.
But it still brings back so much nostalgia, and it is just enjoyable enough where if I didn't have anything else to play, I would absolutely play that and enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then the Game Boy version, I don't know if you guys either of you ever played the Game Boy version. Well, first of all,
doesn't sound like a good idea.
First of all, the Game Boy version had a AAA battery pack that had a vibrator thing in it. This is like a so if you bumped a wall or into another pod, it would. But it was like. That's all it was. But it was so cool. It was like, whoa, you can stick a AAA battery in it.
That's hilarious.
But that game was the only reason it's in there is, well, one, because it shared releases, and I don't know if you remember a lot of these games, especially Nintendo did this a lot, where they would release a game like on their main console, like N64 or GameCube, but then they'd release the companion version. It was like it was the Game Boy version of the game. It's not the same game, but it's the same game. So that's what this was like. It was the Star Wars Racers, and you unlocked pods. So you, I think, started with some, one of the aliens, like one of the guys that dies right in the beginning of it's like it blows up. You start with that one, and it's slow and it's clunky. But the challenging part of that game, and this is why I left it in this list, just because it's one of those games. It's like so annoyingly hard, like Super Meat Boy. Love that game. I don't know if you've played that. Love that game, and if you've seen it or or played it, or have heard of other people playing it, you'll know exactly. It's so hard. But the fun part about it is that it is hard.
Right.
And so like Super Meat Boy is literally like you're a little slab of meat, like beef, and you just run. You're trying to save your like girlfriend or whatever.
Okay.
His 2D side scroller like platformer game.
Okay.
And every time, so there's like all of these dangerous things like blades and stuff, like saw blades and all this stuff that you can die on.
Naturally.
And and every time you die, it saves it so that when you finally complete the level, you can watch every one of your deaths all the way through to the end. So you replay every. Cool. It's a very fun game, but it's frustratingly like you played it to try to not throw the controller. Totally. That was like the point. It was like, okay, I'm not gonna throw it today. I can do it. But the Game Boy version of this was that where you had the D-pad, and so you couldn't steer like you can with a joystick. Right. You click, 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 and it would go click, click, click,
right,
click, 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 and the level did not, the map did not turn with you. Right. The level just kept going straight. And so if you turned this way, now the map is good. So the pod was always upright basically. So it would like click over, and then the map would just like move instead of the
right.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. If you played it, you know exactly. Yeah. But it was just so hard, and you had accelerate, brake, and left and right. That was it, and it was. I don't think I made it past like the third level, like the third race, but games, you wanted to get to Sebulba because his ship was super good, or Anakin's ship because his ship was super good, but like it was impossible to get there. But nonetheless, I loved those hard games because that was what we had.
I mean, that was video games back then, right?
Exactly.
Like
so many
of
these
were hard.
They were just so hard.
You go NES, SNES, like those games were incredibly difficult. Like the original Mario is a very hard game. Like,
yes, the very 100%. First one. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
most NES games were permadeath. Like,
yep.
Or at least had a certain point to where it was permadeath. Yeah. You had 3 lives to beat the whole game or whatever. And they were long too, and like there was no like guides or anything. You couldn't just YouTube how to beat this level. Like so you get to the hard level, and then which is 10 hours in, and you die 3 times.
Yeah, we've had documentary. We have had documentaries on guys trying to master those games, like the Donkey Kong one, and like all that. It was like, oh my gosh, like you have to be, you have to dedicate a lot of time.
Yeah,
and not just to play it, but to like study it, because these guys will study. Okay, where does Mario jump to, and what point do I have to jump over this or that?
Crazy.
Yeah, they're hard games back then for sure.
So that moves us to your next one.
To my next one, jumping on the train of just George trying to sell as much stuff as he could in 1999. Phantom Menace on PS1, which we were talking earlier today about. I could be wrong, but I wonder if this is one of the first, if not the first, like turn-based console games where you are in Gungan City and you're Obi-Wan, I think, and you can talk to a Gungan and you've got 3 or 4 lines of dialogue.
Like dialogue options?
Dialogue options. And you can basically tell them to like screw themselves, or you can, and you kind of have to choose: do I want to be a good guy or a bad guy? Now, granted, you can run through Tatooine or Mos Eisley or whatever, and literally like force push. It's your only force power. Like just push people and kill them. There's one point where like this mother is like, "Can you please go find my son?" I think at that point you're Qui-Gon, and you go find the son. But in the meantime, you can totally just kill the mother, and then bring the son back, and then her mom's just there dead, and then you can kill the kid with no consequences. You can just keep playing the game. So there's no like you've now become evil,
right?
Like a Telltale
because they didn't have probably the computing power to give you two options. No. It was well, this is the path you took.
It's special because it has cutscenes from the movie from Phantom Menace, which for me is my first Star Wars. Like I actually Phantom Menace was the first Star Wars I saw. Again, like talking the Potter stuff.
Crazy.
Like
Are you okay?
we were pretty sheltered. Like we had pretty similar. So like Star Wars was like, I don't know if we're gonna let you watch that kind of thing. So I would sneak my buddy's copy of Phantom Menace on VHS, and just watch clips of it or whatever. Nice. So anything Phantom Menace, like I love. So it's a terrible game.
So awesome.
Most of the levels are impossible to beat, but it's really fun to watch on YouTube and still play.
That's awesome.
Phantom Menace.
Cool.
So that brings us to my number 5, and I have Vader Immortal. Just 1, 2, and 3. It's all one game. Like it's 3 parts, but it's the same game.
Yeah.
Which is the VR game.
Yeah.
It's difficult because like as a Star Wars game and a Star Wars story, it's fine.
Canon story,
but it's VR.
Right?
And see, and anything in VR like elevates it a little bit. Like you were holding the lightsaber, you were like force pushing. You can pick a stormtrooper up and throw him and then grab his gun out of the air and shoot the stormtrooper and then force grab a thermal detonator and throw it at more stormtroopers. It's such a fun game. And like the story is just okay. Like and the mainline gameplay is really it's not that great, but there's a training mode in each part, and dojo, that one is so much fun. So there's like 40 levels in each of them, and then you can 3-star them. So like I 3-starred everything in 1 and 3, but 2 is really hard. Like part 2 is
I don't know why it's so hard.
Because it's all the flying bug things, and those things are like. They're kind of difficult. They're all over the place. They're hard to grab, and
you don't hear them as well as like the other ones. It's like
So and like you can hear a blaster bolt being shot at you, and then you can just block it like this, you know. And it's fun to flip your VR controllers around and play like Ahsoka style.
It's so hard to play that way though. Like there's no way that's a practical form of combat.
Sure. I mean
having blades behind you.
I always thought because. 1 you'd hold like that for defense, and then 1 was offense.
1 was
offense. But that's not how they use them. Like I don't. So, but
no, that game, I totally forgot. Fun. I should have put that in my list because it's up there. If it were in my list, it would be higher than this one because I did love it. And I think you're right. The story isn't incredible, but I think I liked it. I think I liked it better than you did because it's connected to the Vader comics.
Oh, really?
It's like basically a direct tie-in, and so that's like really fun.
Well, one of the things that was so dumb about this story is like the coolest thing you get in part 3 is Force Lightning, right?
Yeah.
You don't get that in story mode.
Yeah.
Like at all. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like
it was very odd that you're like, so also, now I just have
moving
that.
You're teleporting, moving, and it's just like
but I mean, I have PSVR, and I get
PSVR?
Yeah.
Oh,
they are.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, they did. They sometime last year, maybe the year before, that they finally did put them over there, and it's a bummer that some of the best games, like I don't know if you've played Acron. Look it up.
I've heard good things.
It's so fun, and I like if you call me, I'd play it any day of the week with you. It's so fun. Cool. But there's some games like that come out for the Quest that don't make it to PSVR right away, and then they come later when like the hype is over. That's the unfortunate part of that. But I mean, there's some games where if you actually are walking, I get motion sick really easily on that, and I don't normally in life.
I do too. Like I get incredibly motion sick, like when you're using thumbsticks to walk in VR. Like,
it's really disorienting.
But I've played some VR games that you don't have to move at all.
Yeah.
And they just do it in a really good and creative way.
Yes.
Like the dojo. Like the dojo, you're on just this little platform, and that's all the movement you get. Like you could play that in this room and have plenty of space. Like so. It's so fun though, and seeing Vader like breathe in your face and like standing over
he's
you,
like you're looking up.
Really cool.
It's just you don't realize how terrifying Vader is until he's standing in front of you. You're like
7 feet tall.
He's upset, and you're like,
and then he starts
Are you gonna force choke me?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that game, I did really love those games. They're so good, and like I said, like the story for me was it. I mean, the dojo is phenomenal. It's like the first thing I have anybody play when I'm like,
right.
You gotta play that. And but I did a side note, like Swordsman is very similar, but you do walk.
Okay.
That one makes me motion sick. I love that game because you can like chop people's heads off.
Yeah.
It's like why not?
And
and sword and shield, like But it is, it is such an enjoyable game. But there's those movements, make me feel so sick. And I'm not a guy that gets motion sick very easily. So that's like I think a big deal. Like you gotta. So
it's getting better for me. So I've had to like kind of force myself to do it a little bit, and then as soon as you get sick, you gotta stop, right? Because otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, you can't like try and push yourself through it, because then your brain will associate sickness with VR, and you don't want that.
That's
so you just kind of have to tolerate it a little bit, and then once you can, and actually, the mini golf, Walkabout Mini Golf, is the game that has made it because you can fly in that game. And the first time I did it, I almost fell over. It was so disorienting.
Yeah, it's because you just start lifting.
I've gotten I've kind of used it a little bit here and a little bit there, and I'm starting to get used to it.
Yeah. I have so little experience with VR. I've done a little bit of Oculus on a friend, and then I've done Your Vader, and I was at the dojo. And I mean, my problem was I almost destroyed your den, like tables and chairs, because I'm just reaching and trying to.
Yeah,
I don't know how I would do it unless I had like a warehouse to do it in.
Right,
I really don't understand VR.
Well, I do think
how
that's
destroy your home.
I have my opinions on VR. I do not. Is the reason I don't have an Oculus Quest or any of that is just straight up. I don't care for the idea of the metaverse. I don't. Without rocking any more boats than that. Yeah. I'm just gonna say I think we need to live our lives in the real world. That being said, if we're gonna do VR as entertainment, which I believe that we should, because it's super fun, make a room, a facility where it gives you a warning when you're getting close to a wall, but is it completely like open space?
Do they not have a good Guardian system in PlayStation?
PlayStation, because one, you're attached to
the cable. Have you used the Quest 2?
Yes. It's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Again, I won't buy one for personal reasons. And mostly because why would I buy one when I already have the PSVR?
Sure.
It's there.
Well,
I got it for cheap, like
the Quest 3, 4, 5, maybe because those improvements will be so crazy that then. But
on that note, like PSVR 2 looks really incredible. Total redo. I don't think the camera's required. I don't know yet. But like right now, the camera's required, and that's how it does motion tracking. Some motion tracking. Yeah. But I will also say that PSVR has a leg up on the Oculus because of that, because it is tracking actual light sensors, and it's not just going, okay, I see the room, because cameras, as we've learned from Tesla, aren't. You shouldn't only use cameras to be sensitive to your surroundings, because Teslas have run into semi-trucks. Because they're like, camera, and it's like, oh, I see something white, and I know it's a tipped over truck. I don't know if you heard the story.
No.
Literally, like the self-driving Tesla, like head-on collision with a tipped over truck, because all it sees is the white, and so it thinks it's sky, so it just keeps on driving. So very tragic. I think the guy was fine, but
that's good. That's good.
I can't wait to bring the Virtual Boy over, and you guys will experience
the Virtual Boy,
true motion sickness, and your retinas being burned out. Good job, Nintendo.
Red
1992.
Red lasers just blasting your face.
Quite the side tangent.
Yeah, sorry.
So let's jump back into it. Your number 5.
My number 5. So I really struggled. Now I'm getting into the level where I really struggled with where to place.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's just my forewarning. The new Battlefront 2.
Okay.
Yeah. It was way better than a lot of people gave it credit.
Yeah, well,
especially after the first one
release, it wasn't very good, but
it was
very shortly after they fixed it.
It was lacking content, which they had planned, and it was all free.
Sure.
Like EA had very early on said, "We're not doing what we did before. We're not going to make you pay for content."
Yeah, that's because Disney dropped the hammer on them.
Oh yeah,
hard.
and thank God, because that wasn't okay.
Star Wars game again.
It wasn't okay to do what they did. Yeah, because the first one was fun, but it was pay to win, and that was not fun. That was terrible.
Yeah.
It had a lot of opportunity for it to be great, and it just missed the mark because of that reason. But then the microtransaction thing really rocked the boat for Battlefront 2. And so it actually was a great game, a little content shy.
Sure.
But we all knew that we were getting new stuff, especially when the movies released. They were like, we're going to release the new characters when they come out. We just can't tell you about them yet. Like all the details about it. So it was like, we're coming out with new content. You'll see it later. But, you know, I even think right off the bat, I think the reason it wasn't good was because of the talk around it. The talk around it was microtransactions and EA is doing this. And, you know, I think EA still has to learn some lessons. But the quality of the game, the mechanics, it was just so and it looked beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean, it just I mean, if there's still, and I'm sure there still is a fan base for it, but I would absolutely play it. I just think that the reason I felt off and why it's lower is because there ultimately were better games that were coming out.
Yeah.
And that's me. I'm not spending hundreds of hours, I'm spending tens of hours playing. So like you know, I still play plenty of video games, but it's I have to be more selective. So I can't dump in. I know people who they play you know, games that came out in early 2000s still, and they're like, Die Hard. This is the game that I play. Yeah, but for me, it's like, okay, that was fun for a year, and now I'm over it. So it was a great game, and the content that like you could play as General Grievous and as, you know, I mean, just as everybody.
BB-8 broken in that game.
Oh, he is. It's so fun. But that's like what's so fun about it is you're like, BB-8's coming.
You're like terrified. No, that's awesome.
But there were some balance problems. I think some balance problems with specifically being able to become a hero. And so that was like was what you wanted to play for. You wanted to play to become a hero, but it became, if you weren't top early on, you didn't really get to be a hero because those people kept taking those roles and then they were suspended from being able to play them. So you couldn't play them while someone else was that hero.
Right. Yeah.
But then you'd have 3 or 4 heroes on the map, and they were like, "That's the cap." So now I can't play as anybody.
They should have had an all heroes mode.
They did. They did start. Yeah, and that's why I think that it really was better than it was better than what a lot of people thought it was. Because a lot of people didn't even play it. They're like, "That's junk." Yeah. And I'm like, no, it actually was great. They did the heroes mode. They did an Ewoks mode where it was literally Ewoks at night. It was stormtroopers versus Ewoks.
That's awesome.
And if you were a stormtrooper, you had a flashlight and your gun, and you had to kill the Ewoks. And the Ewoks had night vision.
That's
Five Nights at Freddy's kind of.
And the Ewoks had night vision, and they could call to each other, and they had like the little whips
out
and stuff.
Of the blue, you see
you just see the Ewoks like.
This is a completely like you probably do your own podcast on this, but I so badly want some good Star Wars horror content.
Yeah. And that was it was
That's
right
also
there.
Hilarious.
It was
it
was just funny enough to not be scared of it.
Yeah.
But it was it was good. Yeah, it was I loved that. So it was a good time for sure.
I'm just getting into Battlefront 2, like the story mode. So I
piggyback
on many of the things you have said, so I'm excited
great.
for that and that it's canonized. You know, I'm just if
it's
canon, I'm down for it, and I'm kind of excited, and I just like how realistic it's looking, and I love some of the sequel stuff. I love Kylo Ren and things like that, so I'm excited to play more as him. Yeah, Battlefront 2 I'm excited for. Number 1 I just couldn't really get into, and I'm bad at first person shooters.
Sure.
My game, so I'm liking it so far.
Cool. Nice.
So what's next on your list?
Well, that would have been Battlefront 2 because after Battlefront 2 I only have 3 left. I have a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, let's save your 3. Yeah, sure. Okay. So going to my number 4 then is the original Battlefront 2.
Okay. Higher.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So your number 4.
My number 4 is Knights of the Old Republic.
Higher.
Yeah, I figured it would.
So
be.
you're number 3.
So yeah, and I have yet to download Knights of the Old Republic on my iPad because I missed it. It seemed Knights just seemed so.
Or wait for the remake. I mean, we're getting a remake.
Okay, so help me again.
Been put on
I'm
hold
the least gamer here.
Wait, what? When did that happen?
Like within the last month.
Oh yeah, Wolverine got pushed.
No, Coder has been put on hold indefinitely. Yeah.
That's very sad.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
I wonder if we'll hear anything about it.
Make that canon? Because like if you're putting out Star Wars content, it must be.
So it wouldn't have been considered canon because it was a remake. Like they're just remaking an old game. Like so, it wouldn't have been considered canon.
Yeah, but
but I don't know if it's related, but Aspyr was the people doing it. And they ported Coder 1 and 2 to the Switch, and there was some big problems with multiplayer too on the Switch.
I did. Yeah, you couldn't finish it, right?
You couldn't win. There was a certain point in the game, and your game was just over if you got to that point. So I don't know. I don't think that's related, but I don't know.
Crazy.
Very disappointing.
Crazy.
That is that's very sad. I did not know that.
Is that a game that's considered an RPG?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna try it. It's gonna be on my iPad. It'll be terrible.
Play it. I mean, it's harder to play now than it was when it came out. You know, just like any of these, it's like, oof, this is rough. But it was such a good game.
I think I just want Star Wars to be
one of my favorite all-time favorite Star Wars. I mean, there's tons of combat in it.
Yeah.
Like there's boss fights and there's a ton of combat but it's such good storytelling and the dialogue is awesome. Your companions are amazing. But it's higher on the list, so we're not talking about it right now. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is going to be our boy Cal Kestis, Jedi Fallen Order.
Okay.
Higher.
All right.
Higher.
I get it.
Through this list.
I get it.
I'm higher. I'm way higher.
I think it's a near perfect game. My excitement is so heightened by the rumor going right now, and it could be nothing, but who's the second most, other than Cal, who's the second most famous redhead in all of Star Wars? Mara freaking Jade. So they're saying because of the timeline, what could happen, and part of the reason why Luke is such a mean old Grinch in 7, 8, 9 is because Mara Jade is going to be canonized, his love interest, right? They have children and stuff. She's an incredible character, but she could be the love child of Cal Kestis, Ginger, and Miri. I forget her name, but she's Dathomirian's sister in Fallen Order. They're obviously like buddies in this game, so it's like, if they fall in love, they have this like super powered kid who's half Force sensitive, half a Dathomirian witch. How great could that be? So, and could eventually would be like 10 years younger than Luke Skywalker, no big deal. But like, if she becomes like part of it, now that they've done Luke so well in Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. So anyway, there's many reasons. I love bringing in what has quickly become one of my all-time favorite characters, Saw Gerrera.
Yeah.
Like, Fallen Order does such a good job at having him.
He's so great. I mean, he needs his solo. Like, I want to see him.
I haven't played Fallen Order.
Wait, what?
I know.
I figured you guys went on this together.
No.
Okay.
That's all Kirk. I haven't actually played it yet.
We have to stop the podcast and come back next week when you finish that game.
What's held you back? Just wanting to wait?
I haven't. I've just been busy.
It was the most it was the most angry I've ever been playing even more than these Star Wars games because it was broken.
Yeah.
It was trash for like 9 months. Because I got it pretty early on.
Pretty glitchy.
Oh, it's pretty glitchy. Yeah, there's this like
I didn't experience
this jumping move you can do, and you can just make him jump forever. He just kind of does this force push. And
jump. I heard about that. Again, I never experienced major glitches, and there was a few. There is that. There were a few, but I didn't experience that.
Your number 3 is higher on Hagen's list.
Yeah.
Which brings us to my number 3.
Very good.
Which is Lego Star Wars.
Okay.
Like
the new.
I specifically put down Complete Saga, this is just Lego Star Wars Complete Saga / all Lego Star Wars games. You know, like
Very good.
I mean,
and because I didn't technically put it in my list, we can talk about it.
Okay.
Again, I have it literally. I have my top 10, and then above it is Lego.
So I haven't played the new one. I'm kind of a purist, so I'm a little upset about a few things.
I do understand, and
because
they
talk, and it's a completely different camera.
It's a camera system,
really?
And that the camera system is the biggest thing for me. That bums me out.
I like the camera system more now.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
because
like,
it's easier.
Objectively speaking, like it is a better camera system, but it was still like they talk and what is this gameplay? Like I don't play this.
The talking
and
is
fancy
odd,
gameplay.
but it's nice.
I stand by multiplayer is better in Complete Saga because I have played multiplayer in the new one and I hated it.
Oh wow.
Now single player experience, I'm sure this game is just all around better, but multiplayer, I was not a fan. I didn't like it at all.
So interesting.
It was split screen, and it was like not. It was not my thing.
I remember when widescreen TVs came out, and I was like, oh, now they can split the screen this way and this way, and because of that game, I finally now know why they didn't do that because it just watching content vertically like that when you're playing a game, like maybe when you're watching it.
Yeah,
I edit videos for a living, so I don't like that. But yeah, like taller versus wider is not better.
Yeah.
I thought that because we got a widescreen, we'll get like that 4:3 ish, but we didn't get that aspect ratio. We got this like really skinny.
There's some games that do it. There was a few Call of Duty games that the default was that and that, and for a first person shooter is like terrible. It
was
half
bad.
of your field of view. So like, and there was one time where me and my friend, we just couldn't figure out how to change it. It was just so frustrating that we just stopped playing, like, because it was so terrible.
It's not how the human eye sees it.
Yeah, exactly. No, like
for a reason.
Yeah. But no, Lego Star Wars. It's just, man, it's such a good game. It's so much fun.
Because
I remember
even
finding all the white and med kits. Is that what they were called?
Oh,
the kits with the green.
It wasn't a trophy. It was
not med kit.
Not med kits. Something kit.
Just some
mini. Well, they're mini kit.
Mini kit.
Yeah.
It was mini kit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That
It was so much fun, and the cantina in Complete Saga, and then you'd go into your episode.
Yeah,
because
the cantina
choose your level, and I remember.
And it's not that way in this new one. That is
right. Yeah, no,
not as good.
Right.
So it gives you more of an open world thing where you can like you're not just going into levels. You can now go back to explore that
right
planet.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm kind of a purist. Like so,
and
like I'm sure overall it's better.
It's objectively better, but I agree with you.
But like I like. Yeah, I know I have to force myself to play it, and I'm sure I'll love it once I do. But I'm gonna be angry about it.
I think that's fair. That's rational. I think also because I didn't play it since I was a kid.
Sure.
I really came back to the new game. It's not even a remake, but this like new game. It's so good and it's so playable. Like it's so fun, and I do appreciate. The good thing is you can turn on the mumbling voice thing.
Right.
So that's cool.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
you can go back.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I do like the voice. I liked that it felt more. It's like there are sometimes I don't like commercials, so I don't really watch like, network TV. But there are elements of having a commercial that makes you feel less secluded from reality when you're like watching movies and stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's a break where you feel like, oh, that's what people are doing these days, and that's what they're advertising. And you see families and stuff. And I do feel like that same level of connection I got when they added voices was like, I feel like now there's more interaction where I don't feel like I'm sitting in my basement alone, like playing Legos.
Sure.
From what little of the game that I've watched on YouTube, I haven't played it, but I think probably Luke will love like being Little Orphan Annie and going up to Vader and like the dialogue between them. Like I've seen some pretty funny combos. So I think they did that.
Like the Anakin, the older Anakin pulls out the red lightsaber and goes, ooh, and then puts it back.
Shakes it and then goes
and it turns
blue again. Like
so that kind of stuff is like really great, and
so many like deep, Star Wars lore things in it.
Absolutely.
I've just seen on video.
You get it's just anything to play, more of the Star Wars world, and that it still has the same level of like huge, mass quantities of collectibles, and that's so fun to me. Like,
I
mean, you have like these like the Kyber bricks that you have to find. And there's like some 2,000 and something of them that you got to find. I haven't even gotten
how many have you?
A quarter of the way.
Oh my gosh!
And I've played that probably as much as you've played the
steroids.
Yeah, it's just it's insane. Wow. And like a lot of it's like relatively easy, but they're just like chores. You're like, oh, there it is. How do I get up there? Okay, there. I'm gonna climb this thing and push this button, and then I have to be R2D2 for this part, so I have to switch over to him, and then as you unlock characters, then it gets it's. I love that game, but I do also agree that the original was better in some ways, but this one is objectively just a better game.
Anytime you're fighting nostalgia, it's a difficult battle.
It's it's so true. Which is why my next few are higher.
Yeah, what's your number 3?
So my number 3 is Force Unleashed 1.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Just great. I mean, we talked about this before, so I don't feel like I have to touch on it a ton. Like, it was just one of those games that like had
number 2.
Okay. Right. But we can talk about it.
But we can talk about it. Yeah. It had the potential to be something phenomenal. Like I wouldn't have been surprised if they kept going in the same direction instead of going way too high. We could have had 4, 5, and 6 by now. In my opinion, like we could have had like a
100%.
big,
mostly on the strength of Sam Witwer's acting. Like, he has obviously Star Wars company
that was a big
has
deal
found
when it came
he
out.
is so valuable to them because they gave him Palpatine's voice to do. And I thought I saw an interview with him where he was like, yeah, one day I just did the voice, and they were like, oh my god, like 25 and you can do Palpatine better than Ian McDiarmid. So
which is weird.
Like, where did you come from? He's in an early episode of Sunny too.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. That's
an
funny.
Aside, but it's fun.
But that was a big deal, akin to like The Last of Us and Fallen Order, where like, oh, they're using an actual actor who is doing the whole thing. Yeah, and it was like a big deal then, and that was so cool to see.
And it's a good novel. I read the novel, and they introduce his name in it, and it's just you start off the game, you're Vader, and you're on Kashyyyk, and you're just blowing up Kashyyyk for 30 minutes. So it's kind of nonstop, but it's not like its unfortunate sequel where it's overpowered. It's pretty easy to get killed, but you can grab a Jawa by the head, electrocute them, and then punt them. It's called Sith punt. So it's just like that's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah,
the best part of
like side tangent. How dark Star Wars games
are! Oh my god!
Like, so
the games just
we'll
go
talk
for
about
it.
it when we'll talk about Coder in a little bit, but like in Coder, some of the things you can do. So you can like walk up to like some old alien that's being harassed for credits, and then you like get to the bounty hunters, and you're like, actually, I'm gonna kill you and take your credits, and then you kill the bounty hunters. And then the person's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much," and you're like, "Yeah, give me the credits. You're dead." And they're like,
"Oh
my gosh!" Like you can be so like brutal in Star Wars games.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
As much as George would be like, "These are for kids," it's like, well, you're right, George, but at the same time, it's for kids who were allowed to watch PG-13 movies.
Right.
We weren't.
Yeah.
So
fortunately,
that was your number 2.
Oh, absolutely.
So my number 2 is Coder 2.
Okay.
You know what? I sorry. I'll let you.
Yeah.
And real quick, is Coder 2 the Old Republic? This is where
no. So we got Knights of the Old
honorable
Republic.
mention. Yeah.
No. So we got Knights of the Old Republic, and then that's its own story. And then we get
Knights
of the Old Republic 2, which is the same universe, the same timeline, but Revan is not in it.
Revan's not. Okay.
Yeah. So and you play as a completely different character. Now, based off the day, you could probably get me to switch these. Coder 2 is a phenomenal game, and the story is so cool, and the bad guys are better than
they really
like
stepped
Alex,
it up
the
with
bad
that.
guy in 1. The bad guys in Coder 2 are way better bad guys, like, and they're scary too.
That's true.
And the companions are awesome. Like it's such a phenomenal game. Like and I mean largely it's the story, right, of Coder 1 and 2. The story is what kind of makes those games. But even the fighting is fun. Like but now not as much for the time now.
Still
but
an
like
RPG.
For the time back then, you had Force Lightning, and you had and it had the morality meter. Like you could be a good guy or you could be a bad guy.
Is that what I think it is? Okay.
And when you do something a light side act, you get light side points, and then there's benefits to being light side and there's benefits to being dark side. So when you're light side, if you use, and that's the same for Coder 1. But if you're light side and you use a dark side power, it takes more force to use it. Like you're not supposed to use those powers. So if you do a true light side build, you're not going to use Force Lightning or one of the coolest force powers ever, which is Drain Life, which is just this big orange beam that literally just takes their life and gives it to you, so you can just heal yourself. But the planets are so cool, and you have Nar Shaddaa, and and you have you go to Korriban, and you go to Dantooine, and man, it's such a good game.
The only reason that's not in my list is because I only played a few hours of it. I didn't actually ever get into it. So I know it's one of those. It's on my list.
I mean, it's hundreds of hours.
But
to really play it.
No, it's now I went back and played it, and I knew most of it. I'd never finished it until probably 2 years ago, maybe.
Oh wow.
And it took me 35 hours to finish.
Okay.
Maybe 40.
Yeah.
And then Coder 1, if I go play that, I do know how to do everything. Like I do know where everything is.
Yeah.
That one takes me 20.
Okay.
But if you don't know what you're doing, you're probably more in the 30-hour range.
Gotcha.
because there are some times where you have to go explore and go to talk to people, but then once you know what you're doing, you can just bypass that conversation. You know, so it's an amazing game.
Yep. Cool.
Your number 2.
My number 2. I put them together. Battlefront 1 and 2, original.
The original. Okay, sure.
2 was arguably better.
Yeah,
but I didn't play.
Sure
I didn't
there was
play
no
as
in one, right?
No, there were.
Oh, there
I'm
was?
almost. Well, it's been a long.
I don't think
time.
there was any heroes.
Maybe not. But they were phenomenal. I just remember them as equally great. You know.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, the 501st storyline in Battlefront 2 is amazing.
Yeah,
the level where Camino has made a clone army to fight the Empire, and then you go as stormtroopers to Camino and you fight clones.
Yeah.
It was so
super
cool, and you just crush Camino as the 501st. And I mean, the 501st you start as clones, and then you transition to stormtroopers, and such a cool storyline. It was so much fun. Those games, the games are amazing.
They were, it's like if I just had, if the new Battlefronts were literally just not ports but closer remakes to those and not new fresh versions, they won. I think that they would have sold way more copies.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And 2, I would have liked them a whole lot more, which is why they're higher.
In the new ones, do they have the the mode where there's the 3 bases and you have to capture them and then you get points? They do have
I believe
because that was my favorite way to play Battlefront 1 and 2. I recently played Battlefront 2 with a friend, and we played get so many kills mode. I forget what it was called.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, I don't want to play this. Like,
the
objectives.
The new ones were fun because they had basically storied objectives where it was we're overtaking this section, and then once that happens, then the rules change.
Okay.
And then you have so there are 3 levels, but it doesn't feel like checkpoint 1, 2, 3 or A, B, and C.
Call of Duty domination, which is what Battlefront was.
Right. So it's that, and they do have a mode that's more like that as well. But they did also have that I don't know what they called it, but that was such a fun mode. It took longer, obviously, but it was so dynamic because you could play it 3 or 4 times over and get different things happening or rooms unlocked that you wouldn't normally play, you know, because you're like, oh, we have to fall back to this back room.
That's cool.
You know, so that part was really cool, and definitely cool to see the newness of, again, the developing and how they just get better and better with time and with just new ideas. But at the same time, Battlefront 1 and 2 were just so perfect. You just can't. If they just made a 4K remake, I'd be all about it. Just give me just a remaster.
Absolutely.
That's it.
So what's your number 1?
Number 1, jumping back on my Phantom Menace bandwagon, is Jedi Power Battles for PS1.
What?
You guys know?
What is this?
I never played
this
it.
was you could play as, you could choose Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Mace, Adi Gallia, who finally made her screen debut other than being on the Jedi Council in Clone Wars. She had a red lightsaber, which at the time was ridiculous for a Jedi, and she held it back like Starkiller or like Ahsoka does. And Plo Koon with not a yellow lightsaber, an orange lightsaber, which I think was in the comics, but then they in Clone Wars gave him a blue one.
I have a Plo Koon's Jedi Starfighter in Lego, and his saber is more orange.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know they did that.
And I think that was the
dude. So Mace with a blue one, because Mace had not been given a lightsaber. They hadn't filmed clones yet, where he told George, of course, in real life,
I'll give you a purple lightsaber.
So you get blue.
Funny.
Each of them has, Plo Koon's super slow, but he's incredibly powerful. Adi
and this
is
has a versus
fast.
mode? Is it fighting mode?
I think.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, there's a 2-player.
Yeah,
I don't remember ever doing it. I'm sure my brother and I did at some point, but it's nostalgic.
Wait, Kamune has a purple lightsaber.
Let me see.
Is this
that
not
might be a mod or something? No, there's no purple in it.
Okay.
But it's special for me because I had my best friend got a few of our friends together, and they all went, and we're 13, all went in, to buy me a used PS1 and Jedi Power Battle. So it's nostalgia. It's a really fun game. You can block. Every character has their own force power. It's way more advanced than Phantom Menace, and it's just a blast. I have the poster. It's just awesome. It'll always be my number 1. And they made a Game Boy version for some reason.
He was a secret character.
Terrible. Who's that?
He was unlocked by beating training mode with any normal Jedi, and you got Katamunde with the purple light.
What?
Wow.
Yeah. You could also play as Queen Amidala,
Captain
Panaka, or Darth
See this
Maul.
era of games where you just had these
that. I didn't know
Yep.
Love that.
So speaking of secrets, and then we'll finish up here.
Okay.
You ever play the Spider-Man PS1
Oh,
or
yeah.
N64?
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
the costumes you could unlock with cheats. You could unlock Cosmic Spidey.
Yeah.
Or 2099.
Oh,
the paper bag over the head. Like, man.
So
fantastic.
Yeah.
All of those, man.
So
I could go on.
I really do miss that about.
Can we make like a top 3 list of Spider-Man games now?
Oh,
Because there's at
man.
least 3 that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
So my number one's Coder.
Yeah. Number 1.
I get it.
Yep.
I totally
the first
understand.
one. Yeah. Amazing story.
Yeah.
So very neat companions, and really the first time for me, the Star Wars universe was expanded. Because I was too young for the Legend stuff. Like I didn't really follow any of that. You know. I mean, I saw some comic books. I want to say Dark Empire, maybe.
That where Luke turns to the dark side, like that's the original Palpatine clone.
Yes. So like I did have I had those comics growing up, but I just looked at the pictures, like I didn't read them or anything, you know. But that didn't feel like expanding Star Wars to me. That just felt like Star Wars. Like that just felt like that's what happened. But Coder was like the first time like we're going like Old Republic. Mandalorians have this weird armor, and there's a Sith planet and a Sith academy, and like. You have to go through the Sith Academy, and that's so cool.
Yeah,
I
won't
go into much more because I know you're gonna play it.
But
all the planets are so cool that the final story is amazing. Your companions, Bastila, Karth, like such cool characters. You can straight up miss companions in this game.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a little harder to do in Coder 2.
What does that mean?
But in Coder 1, so
like where
you have an interaction with a certain character, and I won't go into who it is or anything. But you have a certain interaction with a character, and based off what you do with that character will determine if they follow you or if they don't.
Okay.
But on your companion screen, it just shows up as a little black, like a silhouette.
Yeah.
So you see these people, and you're like, oh, like who is that? Like I want to know. Like I want them in my party. And then you get to the end of the game, and you're like, who is that? And then you find out who it is, and you're like, oh, wait, I can have them? Like, what? Hold on. And then you have to like go back and like it's such a fun game.
I've always known it's
the dialogue is so cool. The side quests are amazing.
Yeah.
There's side quests that like at some point there's a crystal cave that you can just completely miss if you don't go out and look for it and
like
find it.
Ilum, like where you get your hyper crystal?
Or? Well, it's not where you get yours, but you find crystals in it. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can that's early on how you can get your lightsaber to change colors and stuff because you can put new crystals.
Because you can customize your character.
Exactly. So you can customize your character. And it's so
Talk
good.
about the best marketing Star Wars has ever done.
Disappointed about the remake because it wasn't a remaster. It was a remake.
It was a remake.
They were going to completely remake the game.
Right.
And there's things about Coder 2. So Coder 2 added party influence. So like doing a certain action, if you had light side companions with you, if you did a dark side thing, your party members would be upset with you.
Okay.
And like they would and you had to get influence because you can train some of them to be Jedi. So you had to get influence with them to get them to the point where you could train them to be Jedi through dialogue. But if they just didn't like you, then they wouldn't do it. So I was hoping to maybe see like that implemented in and like just them to just improve on the game all around. And hopefully it still happens. But yeah, I mean it is my favorite Star Wars game. Like it's amazing.
I can't. You have made me so excited.
Yeah.
Good. Like
I'm glad.
You gotta play. I mean, it's so good.
Talk about the best, and maybe I'm thinking of Old Republic, the game. The marketing with the little mini movies. Is that all Old Republic, or is that an idea?
No, that's Old Republic, and I was gonna say that's honorable mention
Malgus
for me.
And stuff. I'm like, what is this?
I was gonna do honorable mentions before we got into one.
I played that so much.
Yeah,
like,
heard really good.
Is that set before Coder?
Fun.
Old Republic?
No.
Well,
it's after. Yeah, it's after.
It really?
Okay. So it's almost like Coder 3 in a way?
Yeah, I mean,
basically. But it's not what...
It's an MMO.
They were going to make a Coder 3, and that game was going to be amazing, but it got canceled. The reason I haven't played Old Republic is because it's an MMO, and I'm an MMO hater. So
that's funny. I mean, MMO. If you're gonna play any MMO, this is the one I believe you should play.
Totally.
Yeah.
I just love this game. I mean, if it's Coder, but it's in the same regard, I would say like if you like Skyrim but don't like MMOs, don't touch Skyrim Online, whatever that one's called. And it's like because it's an MMO, like that's what you're gonna get. It is not Skyrim. So you have to go into it with that expectation. Like the Old Republic is a great game, but it's a great MMO. It is not a great RPG because it's not an RPG. So if you like that kind of game, it was phenomenal. Yeah, like oh my gosh, the cutscenes and the short films that they make for it is
ridiculous,
insane. And then but then of course you play it and you're like, this is just an MMO that's been out for 15 years. Like of course, I loved it. I don't play it anymore, and that's ultimately it's one of those, you either have to grind super hard or you have to pay for it, you know? And so that to me is one of those, it's like, I played it and I loved it then, and I'll never play it again now. Right. And that's my personality. Exactly. I'm married, I have a kid, like I don't have time for that. I don't have time for MMOs. So it didn't make it on the list.
My honorable mention is Star Wars Chess.
Chess?
Yes. Have you ever played this
like
before?
PC or something?
Yeah, so it was a PC game. It's just chess, but it's Star Wars, which makes it so much better. So,
of course.
Like, first of all, chess is one of the best strategy games ever, if not just the best strategy game ever. I love it. I love chess. I've played it for hours, like, and I probably could, but now when you in Star Wars chess, when you would take a piece, you would get a little cutscene.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yes, good.
So the pawns were R2-D2 or stormtroopers, and then when you would take a pawn,
that's awesome.
The stormtrooper would shoot R2.
Jeez, I've never seen that happen to R2. This is terrible.
Oh, look at this.
Jeez. He's just covering his ears. Shut up, dude. This was licensed by LucasArts.
Oh, if you
anything to make a buck? No.
If you take Yoda, he deflects it and then he throws it down and it hits him,
that's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and you brutally murder Leia.
Luke
has a green lightsaber for some reason.
So every time you take a piece, you'd get a little cutscene.
So, that's awesome.
Boba Fett in this game is like, what?
Pretty weird.
So it deserved an honorable mention for sure.
That's good. And then, did you have a top? Did we get to your top yet?
Yeah, top was Jedi Power Battle.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It's your top.
Cool. Yeah. So my top is Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, okay.
Phenomenal.
All right. Yeah.
Next to perfect. The story is phenomenal. The gameplay, again, I did not have big bugs. I didn't have
played on
PS5.
PS5. Yeah. Well, that explains it.
Yeah. But it was
let me just borrow your PS5. And then I won't have bugs.
Sure. Sell my car.
Exactly. It was just so good. Like it just. I mean I'm sitting here looking at the lightsaber. I'm like, the lightsaber customization. You can change the hilt styles and the like. There's just so much of it. And eventually you can get double bladed and you can change the colors.
This does that.
I know. Kirk told me about that. It's so cool. And it just
after Sam Witwer in Force Unleashed 1 and 2, I didn't think they could get a better main character who did his or her actual character and face. But Cameron Monaghan, I had watched in Gotham as a Batman nut, and he plays two versions of the Joker. So I was like, what is this guy going to be like as a Jedi? And he's such a good mixture of Luke's Luke's young excitedness without any Skywalker annoyance.
Yeah.
They have the gal who's kind of his mentor, sort of Jedi Master. She was from Mad TV. She was hilarious back in the 90s. She's got these big eyes. She's just great as a dramatic. Everybody in it is so good.
Everybody.
And it's just, I think they had Forrest Whitaker as
Saw Gerrera.
As Saw.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, absolutely they did.
That's awesome.
One terrible comment that maybe is why it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
Was the Wookiees. Looked
horrendous.
Horrendous.
How could we forget?
They look Triangle Hagrid. Triangle Hagrid.
Doesn't hold it.
Jedi Order.
They look like someone puked up like
it just looks like
ramen.
Yeah,
because it's brown.
It's brown,
and it's just stringy. And they're just there's no muscle.
It was so bad. Yeah, it was so bad. I don't know if they patched it. I haven't played it since I originally played it when it came out. But yeah, the story was so fun. The combat was so fun.
Some repetition in the combat.
But that was nice because it was that level progression that I talked about. Like it. I felt like you progressed just enough, and then it would get harder, and then you progressed just enough, and it would get harder. And it was a Souls-like game, right? Not nearly as hard. You could play like the Jedi Master version, like the difficulty, and I guess it was harder. I gotta say, I love the idea of the Souls games, but I can't play them because they're just too hard. It's just too hard. It's not enjoyable.
Well, my thing with the Souls games is I want like a rich story game.
Yeah.
And there's all the lore is there, but you have to go look for it. It's not like there's
you have to read a lot of stuff, and it's not fleshed out. It's just there. It exists.
For me. Like I understand gameplay wise, there's some of the best games ever, like mechanically, but it's just like the reason I will play a hard game is because I want to get through it and learn the story and everything. Like that's why I'll play a hard game.
And that's why I tried to play Elden Ring, and I'm not that type of player. I know that that's a phenomenal game. I know people love it, but that just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But like I feel like Jedi Fallen Order was just a notch down from that in difficulty.
It's more of a Souls light than a Souls like.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. But that was right up my alley, and
right.
I loved that it was challenging. You had to keep coming back to the combat, but it wasn't so challenging that you wanted to throw the controller across the room.
And
like
it's now,
I see throwing controllers for you as like something that you have a relationship.
You know what?
With this,
you know what's funny is I never threw a controller. I one time.
I'm not sure if I believe that.
That's because your Wii was attached to your wrist. No, I wanted to break the TV.
I one time, and this was as a kid, had like the knockoff PS2 controller, and I like was mad and like kind of set it down hard, and it just shattered, and I was like, I can't believe I did that. I just rage broke a controller.
Super strength.
But I didn't truly. I say that as a
son in the palm of my hand.
I said that as more of an expression. I've never thrown a controller.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, no, I've never. Good. And I'd admit if I did because I just told that stupid story.
Right,
you know. Yeah, I was terrified. I was like, my mom is gonna kill me.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Like if I broke something as a kid, I didn't get a new one. Like I shouldn't have broken it. You know? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's my only,
Man, that was a good list.
That was a good list.
All three of those were awesome. Yeah.
I've got some homework to do.
I know.
So do you guys.
So do we.
Yeah. Bringing the PS1
You brought some interesting stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
So, yeah, don't bring him up. He's not here.
Yeah, Kirk.
But yeah, that's it. Hopefully we gave you some good games to go play, and I mean definitely check some of them out for sure. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Like, subscribe, check out the Patreon content. Next week Kirk should be back, so I was gonna say skip it, but actually please don't skip it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, rebukes for these guys, my list is perfect. Drop them below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.